Hello dear chess friends, we keep examining the most important theoretical pawn endgames, and in this video we are going to focus on one really fundamental concept which is called triangulation. This idea is very important for every chess player, and you will see it occurring again and again. The basic concept behind triangulation is to transmit the move order. This is a maneuver which are designed to pass the move order to your opponent, and in this way your opponent will find himself in a situation of zugzwang. Let's take a look at one of the most classical examples featuring the idea of triangulation. On the diagram, it's white to move and he should win. But it's not as easy as it might seem at first glance, because the most straightforward attempts do not work. For instance, if we play king d6, black will immediately play king d8, then c7, king c8, we have nothing better than king c6, and this is a stalemate. Another straightforward attempt to win this position is to play king c5, trying to get the king b6, but then king c7, and white achieves basically nothing. He should just repeat the position. Okay, if our straightforward attempts to win this position do not work, we should try to think a bit more deeper. Here, let's suppose that it's black to move, and we will see that if it's black to move, he doesn't have useful ideas, and this is a kind of a zugzwang. For instance, let's just demonstrate some variations. Black can, for example, play king d8, but now white immediately plays king d6, taking the position, and after king c8, c7, and this time black is losing the game because he's in a zugzwang. After king b7, just king d7, and white is winning. What else can black do instead of king d8? Another possibility is king c7, but then we play king c5, and when the king goes to c8, then we play king b6, and we will capture the a6 pawn. So we can say that black is in a position of zugzwang. Actually, I forgot to mention one more idea, but which is quite simple, by the way. After king b8, we will just play king d6, and obviously after king c8, c7, we get back to the position that was examined some time ago. Okay. So let's get back to the starting position. We can see that this is a position. In this position, if it's black to move, this is actually a zugzwang. And also there is another important principle that you should know. Actually, the squares d5 and c8 are correspondent squares. The notion of correspondent squares means whenever the white king is on d5, the only square for the black king is c8. Another pair of correspondent squares are c5 and c7. Whenever the white king goes to c5, the black king should occupy the c7 square. Another pair of correspondent squares is d6 and d8. Whenever white plays king d6, black should play king d8. So this idea of correspondence squares is quite frequent in pawn endgames, and you should know it very well. But let's see how white can win this position. We should make the triangulation maneuver in order to pass the move to our opponents. And actually, we can make triangulation in various ways. We can start with the d4 square or with the c4 square. But actually, for example, we will play king c4, king d4, and then king d5, or king d4, king c4, king d5, making a triangle. So let's suppose that we play king d4. What can black do? We know that the squares c7 and c5 are a pair of correspondence squares. Therefore, if black plays king c7, then king c5 and white is winning. That's why black can play king to d8. Now king c4, and what happens? Black once again cannot go to c7 because c7 and c5 are correspondence squares. We just go king c5 and we are winning. That's why the only option is king c8. By the way, king e7 doesn't work as well in view of king c5, king b6. The only option is king c8, and then we go to d5. Do not forget, c8 and d5 are correspondence squares, and now black is in a position of Zugzwang, and we win as shown in the previous example. For instance, if he plays king d8, then this is the winning variation, as you already know. And if black plays, let's say, king to c7, then king c5. Do not forget, this is a pair of correspondent squares. Okay, this is a very elementary maneuver that you should know, but something that is also very important is to understand why this maneuver was possible. Let us return to the notion of correspondence squares. As I have already pointed out, d5 and c8 are correspondence squares. And you can see that for white, there are two neighboring squares, c4 and d4, that are equal when it comes to the correspondence square. For example, the white king can be either on c4 and d4, regardless of the position, and the king can, from c4 and d4, the king can reach the d5 square. We have two equal roots to the correspondent d5 square. And for black, the situation is not the same. The king can be either on d8 or b8, but not whenever he wants. For example, if the king goes to d8 in this position, when we managed to transmit the move order, then only from d8 will be possible to go to c8. If the king is on b8, then only from b8 will be possible to go to c8. For white, it's quite different. We have two neighboring squares which can bring the king to the correspondent d5 square, and that's why the entire maneuver was possible. Now let's take a look at another example. In this position, it's white to move. You can pause the video if you want and try to find the correct answer. Okay, I hope that you have managed to solve this example relatively quickly. And let's see how white can win this position. So, once again, it becomes clear that if we manage to transmit the move to our opponent, he is in a position of Zugzwang. Let's say that our opponent is playing king to c8, or king to, first of all, let's start with king to e7. Then c6 is winning, and okay, the b6 pawn will be unstoppable. If he plays king to d8, then king d6, and we're winning in a very easy way. For example, king c8, king e7, king b8, king d7, king a8, and now here not king c7 because it will be a stalemate, but we start with c6. And only after bishop b takes c6, then king c7, and we're avoiding the stalemate. Okay, so if it's black to move in this position, if it's black to move, this is a Zugzwang. Therefore, we can say that d5 and d7 are correspondent squares. And actually, I can reach this d5 square via e5 or also via d4. That's why I'm going to make the triangulation maneuver: king e5, king d4, king d5. Also, another pair of correspondent squares are d8 and d6. That's why whenever the opponent's king goes to d8, I will go to d6 and I'm winning. Another pair of correspondent squares are c8 and e6. And let's see what will happen. King to e5. Very important idea. Now black has only one move, king c6, because we know that after king d8 we win by means of king d6, because d6 and d8 are correspondent squares. We know that after king c8 we're winning by means of king e6, because e6 and c8 are correspondent squares. That's why the only move is king to c6. And now king d4, king d7, king d5. You see the triangulation maneuver in action. And now it's black to move and the position is totally lost. I repeat, after king e7 we are winning by means of c6. After king d8 we're winning with king d6. After king c8 we're winning by means of king e6. And everything is quite simple. So these two positions illustrate the basic idea behind the triangulation maneuver in pawn endgames. Obviously, this idea, this maneuver can be applied in many complicated situations, but these are the basics. I hope that this knowledge will be very useful for your understanding of the pawn endgames. Thank you for watching.